Hello, good morning, good evening, everybody. Sorry for the delay. The weather out here is crazy in Canada. Lots of snow, so you can imagine driving conditions are nuts. Um, with that being said, we are just waiting for a moderator to hop into the Discord and to cast to Discord itself. But in the meantime, let's bring our guests on today from Joy, Play Joy. We've got Daig and Sahil. I hope I'm saying that right.
Kind of close. It's Dag or Dagan and Sahil.
Okay,
But
perfect.
it's brilliant to be here. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It's been a long time coming. I'm very excited to share a stage with someone at YGG. And it's happy to share the stage for the short time we have.
Yeah, again, sorry for the delay, but very excited to have you on. I think you guys are the very first kind of hardware guests that we're going to actually have on. So very, very excited to dive into what you guys have been cooking up here because I took a little bit of a look into it and it's very, very cool. Very, very cool. And I think a lot of our community is going to be extremely interested in it.
Thank you. We've been trying to do stuff in the gaming space for quite a long time. I've worked in a few like different crypto projects. The most recent was in gaming, but the whole time I was doing that last few years, I've been really, really fascinated with building something sticky, something tangible, something real in the crypto space, and that to me is hardware. Most people would choose software, but hardware is hard, but it's something that you can feel, hold, and actually come back to day after day. And it's not just vaporware. And so that was the goal, to create something useful, and that ended up being Joy or Joy Genesis, which would be our first console. I can kind of go through many different things, but I'll let you like guide the questions, and then I'll answer as we go along. I can
For
also
sure.
give a self-introduction if you like.
Yeah. Why don't you two introduce yourselves? Tell us a little bit about how you got into the space and what you guys do at Joy.
Sure, brilliant. Um, I think Sahil is he's just tuning in, but he may not speak. But he will, if he can, he'll join. He'll jump in. But yeah, I'm Dag, or Dagan is my real name. I'm the founder of Joy Tech, co-founder, and we started this about 3 or so years ago. But let's go back into the kind of origin story of myself. I've been in the crypto space for about 10 years now. I started off around 2016. I was actually a lot younger then. I was a student still. And I was really, really fascinated with the idea of basically owning these digital assets anywhere in the world, anytime, by just knowing like a bunch of random keywords, key phrases. And I actually started off doing education. So I was running conferences, hackathons, speaker series, and events across the universities of London. That's UCL, LSE, Imperial London Business School. I was giving lectures on cryptography and Bitcoin while I was a student, like studying. And I started the blockchain clubs around, I co-started the blockchain clubs with some friends, and we used to do everything from trading, events, this and that. And yeah, we were really, really interested in early Web3 gaming. And so we actually tried out a lot of the early kind of games like Axie Infinity, which YGG was very heavily involved in. And I did a research, like my initial thesis was a research project on like Web3 gaming and people playing games to earn money in the Philippines. And I interviewed a lot of Filipinos on YGG's Discord server actually, back in the like 2020s, early 2020s or so. And yeah, going through like the guild system, the CV system, people kind of the manager, and I think it was manager, and I'm not sure, I can't remember. Like the guy who rents out their Axies to the kind of person that ends up playing games and then taking a cut of the revenue. And that was a really interesting model back then. Really, really fascinating. And since around that time, I think I wanted to do something in the Web3 gaming space. But I think the industry was a bit too early at that point. There weren't that many mature games, and there weren't like, it was kind of hard to build in a space that didn't have like a foundation, you could say. And so at that time, I then went into the DeFi space, and I ended up working for a DeFi derivatives trading protocol. Because I was pretty sure that crypto, like either it gets mass adoption through gaming, which is the fun way. Like you play, you have fun, you earn, you play, like you interact, and it kind of gives crypto more than just speculation. It kind of gives you a way to actually use your tokens and trading assets in in-game economies. But then the other side, you come into crypto through speculation, and that's how most people come into the industry. People in DeFi, people like buying Bitcoin, Ethereum, other kind of assets, and hoping to earn yield or earn some sort of return based on their investment decisions. And so, yeah, I think product market fit was more in the DeFi space at the start. I worked there. I was leading communities, doing marketing, go-to-market product work. And then from there on, I worked at a layer one metaverse gaming protocol. Some of you guys probably know it. And I was, very early building out community and doing kind of launch of their initial brand and everything else. So while I was at the DeFi protocol, that's when I started Joy. So I was doing it as my side thing. And the first year, me and my co-founder, we actually met during the conferences, kind of London blockchain thing. His parents worked in hardware and like PlayStation 1, and so he really wanted to do something in hardware. I wanted to do something in gaming, and we met this beautiful team of people that had done a lot in hardware. I know I'm going all over the place here with this introduction, but I'm going to get to how we got to Joy eventually. But me and my co-founder Toshi, we basically researched how can we build something and like get the hardware together and get a team together that can do this and knows what they're doing in Web3 as well. And so we spent a lot of like the first year was actually going to different manufacturers and software providers and people that could actually make this. And then we found my CTO, Prao and El, both who had worked in hardware mining for crypto hardware mining. And they already had manufacturing hubs across different countries, Malaysia, China, Taiwan, and a few other places. And they really wanted to do something in gaming. And so pitching the idea to them for a while eventually got them into joining the team. And then helping us source the resources we need so that we could actually kind of get the idea of Joy Genesis, from a vision to something that's actually manufacturable, provided there's demand. So that was how I that's like the 3 years ago, and then getting Joy out of stealth to doing a lot of different marketing, getting the whitelist campaign going, which is currently what we're doing with YGG. And we're about to actually launch the pre-sale and then bring it to market in early 2026, which is really, really exciting. So that's the origin story. I'm happy to go into what exactly the console is, why it's a bit different. But I'll hand over to you.
Very, very cool. So you are an OG, and you've been in various places within the industry, not just crypto gaming. Like you said, you've dabbled in DeFi. Kind of crazy that you managed to meet somebody in hardware, because the hardware space, from what I understand, and that's actually very small, is very, very difficult to get into. Like, I don't think people understand how hard it is to source all the parts you need and then put together a product and then have it, shipped out. Like, it's extremely difficult. A lot more difficult than software, right?
Yeah, 100%. So I skipped a few parts, but our CTO and his team, they previously worked at AMD. So they spent 30 years combined, 20 years for one of them and 10 years the other. A lot of his wider team, because they also had the hardware mining business. They were ex-AMD employees, and so they previously worked at the chip manufacturer of the company that powers the Steam Deck and all the other kind of handheld gaming consoles. And so they had an experience in like hardware manufacturing and like on the semiconductor level, but then also in the hardware level, because they made hardware mining equipment. And so meeting those people took a while, getting through enough doors so that we could find the people that could do this. But yeah, they really are experts in the space. They know what they're doing, and they've built supply chains. They've gone through the mistakes. They've kind of said their mining equipment they've sold hundreds of thousands of units. And so they've gone through the kind of the teething problems that a lot of these early hardware companies would have. And that's why I put our trust in them. And so I'm quite confident on that side. But yeah, until we found them and got them willing to actually work on this, it was like, how the hell do we do this? We're not like hardware native, 20, 30, 40 years, grandfathers of hardware. It's hard to find those sorts of people. But yeah, the chips that they made actually are in Xbox and PlayStation. So like they worked on the semiconductors that are in those consoles, and so who better to work on Joy Genesis?
Exactly. Now we actually have a question for chat while we're on the topic of your origin story. Real Hani, hope I said that right, wants to know when you started in the space, when you were doing lots of jobs and whatnot. Were you 100% remote, or were there some on-site jobs?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So at the start, doing all of the conference stuff, I was a student at the time, um, and that was like not paid. I did it all for free. I just kind of was trying to educate people and get people who were interested, the same interests as me. And so when I was running the hackathons, we ran the biggest blockchain hackathon in Europe, or like yeah, run by students, back in 2019, I think. And when I was doing that stuff, it was kind of to get into the industry and get exposure and learn. That was very much on the ground in London. The DeFi job was remote, but we had offices in London, and I met them through the conferences and work I did in the kind of previous job. And so for those, I worked there for 3 years. For those 3 or so years, for those years I was basically remote, but I was in person because we had an office in London. But then I went remote like at parts of that. So towards the end of the time being there, I was kind of working a bit more remote. But yeah, that was office. The job after, in the gaming space, Layer One Metaverse Gaming Company. You'll find it if you go through my bio. That was remote first as well, but the founder was from London as well. And so I was in London, and we often did a lot of stuff in like co-working spaces. But yeah, Joy is a remote first company. Our team is very distributed, from Singapore to Dubai to India to London to Tokyo. So to Canada, actually, our development team, like the actual hardware team's all in Canada. So it's very distributed.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I think that question springs from a lot, not only from Honey, but like a lot of our community. They're looking for opportunities in the space, right, to get involved in what they're passionate about. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head where it's usually a mixture of everything. Like you got to be very adaptable in this space, and capitalize on opportunities when they arise, whether it's in person or remote, and be fluid enough to maybe do a mix of both. But the opportunities will arise if you kind of network your way there, right?
Hmm. If you're willing to put yourself out there, at the start, I was like, I mean, I actually, so the London Blockchain Labs thing I ran, that was to get students into the blockchain space. So the point was that back then everyone goes into investment banking or consulting in these top universities, and all they care about is like internships. But no one was interested in crypto. No one was interested in Web3 or blockchain. And this was around when like Bitcoin was 3K, and Ethereum was a few $100, 500 or so. And then like to 1,000 or so when I was like after a few years. And so I just wanted to get people interested because I saw that there was potential here. And I was doing that for free, but then that built enough of a kind of, I guess, reputation or like just network that you could then work for different things. So my point is go to conferences, go to events, do stuff for free, build a network, and then from there you can kind of launch pad into whatever you want to do next, because you'll have those contacts that like, oh, I want to go into gaming. I know a bunch of gaming products, or I want to do something in DeFi now, or I want to start my own thing. Who can I find for investors? These sorts of things come from building it up because you're doing it out of passion rather than just like applying for jobs blindly.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's similar to how I have my job at YGG, right? I just ended up kind of falling into this role of host. I was a community member first, and just enjoyed what Gabby was doing with Axie and the guild, and somehow 3-4 years later, I'm still here. So as you said, it pays to make those connections, and if you have a passion in the space and network, the founders and other people will put you in the right place.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, with that being said, I really want to spend some time diving into the console itself, and then at the end, I want to wrap up with going through the quests, because we do have quests live, right? So I think right now we'll tease your trailer that's pinned to your Twitter, and then after that, please just dive right into the console. Tell us everything about it, why people should be excited about it, and when they're going to be able to get their hands on it and how. So let's dive into the trailer and then we'll follow back up. Okay.
Beautiful. Let's go.
So what are we looking at?
Good question. This is the first trailer we released when we came out of stealth in around February this year. It basically is an introduction to Joy Genesis, which is our first gaming console. We have a hardware prototype we've kind of been showing around to people. So if you're at Breakpoint right now, or at Abu Dhabi, I think there's like a finance week or there's Breakpoint, lots of conferences. Some of the team are there, so you can actually get your hands on it. I think we showed Gabby the console back in May, April, May at GDC, Games Developer Conference in San Francisco. And so, yeah, it's basically a hardware console, much like a Nintendo Switch or Steam Deck. It plays all of your Web 2 games, your Steam Epic Game Store games, much like those consoles do, but it has a Web3 edge to it, which is a hardware wallet inside, social login solution, so you can actually connect your wallets and connect to Web3 games. And it's basically a multi-chain gaming console. We want to support as many different chains and wallets so that we can get the whole variety of Web3 games inside a Web3 gaming storefront, like the Joy Gaming Store. And from there, you can download games, be directly incentivized by developers to play games. And so we kind of solve a problem with where developers want to get users in the Web3 space. There's not so many users, there's not so many people that it's not easy to acquire users, and the user acquisition cost in Web3 gaming is higher actually than the traditional Web2 industries, because there's such a shallow user base and it's very hard to get people's attention for a long period of time. And so we think by giving people hardware that they pick up on a daily basis, they're always going to turn on our device. They're always going to go into the storefront, or they're going to go into their regular games that they really enjoy on Steam, or their kind of storefronts that they're used to. But this is kind of like a Trojan horse, because I don't know if you know the Trojan horse. Everyone knows Trojan horse, but like people sent a horse into Athens, and then they think they're getting one thing, but they're getting another thing. So people might get this and play their regular games because they're the games they're really familiar with. They'll play games on Steam. So you want to play Elden Ring, you want to play Rocket League or Fortnite, those sorts of games. However, you pick up our console and you suddenly find out that you can access Web3. You can play Web3 games. You can access different chains. You can have a wallet on the device. And so we actually want to both target Web3 users at the start, but then kind of break into the Web2 market and give people a kind of gateway into this industry. And so we achieve this through our engage to earn system, which basically, if you're playing a regular game, or I say regular, I mean like a Web2 game, you'll get very, very tiny amounts of either Joy token or other sorts of rewards from the developers themselves. But it will be tiny amounts. So like a few cents here and there for every day you're playing. And if you're loyal, if you're doing certain activities, you get rewarded. However, if you play Web3 games, then your rewards are higher, quite a bit higher. And they can be directly pumped up by developers or people that build games in this space. And so they can say they're launching a new tournament, or they're doing some sort of mainnet release or testnet, certain stage of testnet. Then they can do a tournament, a leaderboard, or they can kind of bump up rewards and make it so that people who are playing their game at a certain point in time are rewarded. And they can directly identify those users who are playing it through Joy Genesis. And so this is basically good for game devs, because they don't have to incentivize users. They can just have their game on our storefront. But if they do, then they can kind of find a way to acquire users at a cheaper price point than they would from just like Google Ads or other sort of advertising. For the players, they can play the games they're already going to play, but then they can also play Web3 games on a device that's tailored towards it. We also plan on having a camera on the back so that you can scan QR codes, send and receive payments, and access DeFi. much like you would on a normal computer or like a hardware wallet kind of device. And so you don't just have to use it for like Web3 gaming. But initially, like in the go-to-market and when we first launch, it will be optimized more for like the gaming side. But later on, we can expand the feature set, so it could also be like a streaming device, so you can stream games. And I don't know if many people know, but these devices, like the Steam Deck, which started the trend, they're kind of like a little personal computer. They have a Linux-based operating system, and so you could actually go on Discord on it and actually access this live stream that we're doing right now. You could have Telegram and other sort of stuff on the device. But obviously it's like a touchscreen, so you might want to put a mouse and keyboard, but you can do that as well. So think of it like a mini kind of computer, but it plays your Web3 games and your Web2 games.
And it's
So
got
that's
a
what we're trying to
hardware
do.
wallet built in.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. We've been working on this for a couple of years, and now we're in that like little like launch phase. So I'll hand back to you, but I hope that was a good overview.
No, it was an extremely good overview, and he actually answered one of the questions that one of our community had there, which was, does it have a touch screen? Which is perfect. It does. Are you able to maybe go over a little bit about the specs? Like, how do they stack up to maybe a normal desktop computer, a laptop, or even the Steam Deck or Asus ROG?
Yep, good question. So for specs, we're aiming for a Steam Deck equivalent, a bit higher than the Steam Deck because that's a bit of an old device at this point. And that's because we want to keep costs as low as possible for an audience primarily in East Asia. That's kind of where a lot of the Web3 gaming audience are. And the ROG Ally is like $800, $500. You can get it cheaper now because secondhand, and obviously like the older versions are cheaper. But like if you buy it new, it's quite expensive. And so we're aiming for a price point that is competitive with the Steam Deck, and spec-wise, that's around that or a bit higher. And that's so that as many people can get their hands on this as possible. So it should play like, it can play like Witcher 3, it can play GTA 5, it can play Elden Ring. Like I've tested those sorts of things on the device. And so it can play most of your gaming library that a Steam Deck could. And we can make a more powerful model like in the future, but it will be more expensive. And like prices of RAM SSDs and like these sorts of things are actually going up right now. So
Yes.
we're doing what we can to keep the prices as low as we can. So think of it as a capable gaming PC that's as good as better than a Steam Deck, but is as cost efficient as we can be given what we're trying to do.
I love that. Yeah, no, that's perfect because again, a lot of our community is very like mobile based. So, we're not looking for like the upper echelon of gaming performance. You still need to go buy a PC for that. But the fact that you're trying to target, a reasonable price to performance is extremely cool. Now, another question I'm going to have, speaking of mobile games, is since it's Linux based, are you going to be able to have like BlueStacks run an emulator on it to play like mobile games from like the Google Play Store, stuff like that?
Yeah, you can definitely run emulators. I'm not sure exactly about BlueStacks, but think of it like it's like a Linux-based PC. So if you can run that on Linux, which I assume you can, because I've already installed Android emulators on like the test device. It was a different emulator. It wasn't called BlueStacks, but that worked. So you can do that. We would have to work on support and how it like syncs into the OS itself, so it's not just kind of tacked on. But yeah, if you think of like a Linux-based PC, you can play any emulator that is powerful enough to run. So yeah, it can do that. Yeah.
Is that maybe that's something you should think about adding to your pipeline possibly, is just because so many Web3 games are based on mobile, right? Like if there's an easy way to switch between that on a handheld device, it would make it even more amazing than it already is, right? Like you're essentially branching so many different things into the handheld. Like the idea that you're having a hardware wallet built in is extremely cool, because if anybody knows, like hardware wallets aren't necessarily cheap, right? Like they cost, I don't know, a decent one from Ledger is what, $200 or so. So the fact you can tack on a little bit more money and get a whole console with that is to me, it's mind-boggling. It's very cool. Just from my side, like I'm actually due for a new hardware wallet myself, and now the wheels are turning Like, I don't have a good handheld. I don't actually have a good laptop. I'm like, well, the value proposition there, if I'm going to go spend like $300 on a hardware wallet, I might as well spend a little bit of extra money and just get a whole console with it.
An all-in-one.
Exactly.
Yeah, I do want to give a little disclaimer because I get this question a lot as well. It's not supposed to be a ledger. Like, it is a hardware wallet, but you're not going to carry it or put your like 10,000 Bitcoin on there because it's your handheld gaming device. So it will keep your gaming assets safe, and it will definitely increase your security from the MetaMask in your browser. But it's not going to be something you lock in a safe because you're going to use it every day.
Exactly.
So we want to give you the peace of mind, but we want, like, usually day to day when you're using the device, you'll mostly be using the social login features. If you want to do so, you can use the hardware wallet features. But yeah, it's security for those that care about it, but it's not supposed to replace a ledger, although it technically can. But if you're taking this on the bus or the train, I wouldn't put 10,000 Bitcoin in there.
No, exactly. It's still kind of a hot wallet, right? There's a differentiation between a cold wallet, a hot wallet, and then like everything in between. And like you said, if you're not gonna buy a console to then leave it in your safe like you might do with a traditional cold wallet, right? So very, very good to touch on that there. Should we go over some of the quests that we're doing right now and explain how people can get involved? And I'm assuming this is for the whitelist, right? For people that want to be able to get their hands on this console as soon as possible.
Yes.
So
yeah,
let me pull that up, and then you can kind of walk us through it here. So this is the community site, and then in the quest tab, you come over to Joy, and then we have everything here. So please, yeah, run us through it.
Sure. And so really cool that you guys have a quest platform, by the way. I've used all the quest platforms in Web3 for a while, but I've been a YGG fanboy for some time, so being able to tie those things together is fun. So this quest is to basically allow anyone from this community to have a chance to actually get a Joy Genesis console in the future. We'll be launching the pre-sales for the device fairly soon, likely in January when the quest finishes. We see it ends on the 16th. It may be around then. We haven't exactly announced everything yet. And so this is a set of simple tasks, basically some social activations, following us on Twitter, Discord, Telegram, retweeting the tweet, and then accessing the pre-booking page and joining the waitlist. The pre-booking page is on our website. It's really easy to get to. You just go to playonjoy.com. You enter your wallet and your email address, and then you send us a screenshot of proof, and then you fill out the form, and that's it. We need that information, so like your wallet is whitelisted because you'll be able to buy it by connecting your wallet, and then we see that you're eligible, and then you can actually get the device. There's also a bunch of prizes. So there's 500 whitelist spots, and we're limiting the amount of people that can get in on this. And when we do the actual sale, at the end of the campaign, there won't be that many consoles for sale initially. Like, the first batch is small, and so this 500 is a very exclusive and limited spot. And then from like, this is a chance to get in. So yeah, there's 1,000 USDC. You can see he's scrolling around for 20 winners, and then 500 USDC for under 20 winners. So if you want to be in chance of winning and you want to get a whitelist spot, it's 2 birds in 1 stone. Why not why not give yourself a chance of winning some free dollars, but also get yourself the chance of buying Joy Genesis console if you want it to be your main gaming device in the future.
And there we go. Here's the social tasks. You guys can pop on into here and do all of these things. And then here is all the information, all the forms that people need to fill out so that your team has all the info should somebody win. So simple, straightforward, easy to do. Do we have a rough price on the console itself?
We do. I haven't announced it to the public yet, just because prices keep fluctuating. We need to lock in hardware. Although our current range is $450, $450 to $500 or so, probably around there. However, we haven't announced it yet, just because we want to lock everything in with the manufacturers and then get them producing once we've started getting towards confirming the sale.
Of course.
And so, yeah, we're very, very close to that point. And we will have the actual price once we announce everything. So once you're in the whitelist, you'll see all of those details once we get to the actual launch.
Exactly. Well,
But that price point is cheaper than any other console that's launched brand new and has similar specs. And we're trying to, our profit margins are low. We're trying to kind of get this onto the market at the start.
Yeah, well, I can imagine how hard it is right now with how crazy like RAM prices are getting. It is.
Yeah, did you see the RAM announcements today? Like Micron, Crucial have like shut down, and there's no more consumer. There's only 2 more consumer RAM products, like companies in the industry, which is Samsung and like Hynix or something. So it's really going to make the industry very hard for hardware producers.
It's absurd.
So we've just been talking to our suppliers about this.
It is absurd. Like I built a gaming PC last January, and I'm looking at what I paid for RAM, and I could probably get more than double if I were to sell these DDR5 sticks, which is absurd to me.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I also got like basically all new hardware last year. And I used to build gaming PCs for friends. I used to go through the process. I love Crucial, man. I used to buy all the Crucial RAM. And now they've just chosen to sell all their RAM to AI companies. So we're very mad about that, and we're not happy on like the downstream effect it's going to have on the rest of the industry. Not only that, sorry to rant, but like I was reading their financial report, like what they're talking about. They made record profits, almost 10x over the last like quarters, like last year, and they don't plan on increasing supply. Like they're just going to kind of promote profitability, which means we might be in a few years of high RAM prices. But we'll see. Like there is only 2 players in the market.
Yeah, it's it's gonna be interesting. I feel bad for anybody that was on the fence about upgrading their hardware. It's just got a whole heck of a lot more expensive, and there's no signs that it's gonna end up being any better soon. I think I was also reading a report where it's like until 2027 there's like barely any consumer RAM going to be available. Like you said, it's all just for AI data centers and for high-end products.
Yeah, so the effects we're seeing, the Xbox One, I don't know, it launched like a few years ago, but it's now $150 more expensive than it was when it first launched. And even PlayStation have raised prices. Nintendo Switch 2 was very expensive. And so we're seeing these. It's a very anti-consumer time, just because of these aspects on hardware. So we're doing what we can to navigate that market, but it's a tricky market to navigate. So hardware was hard at the start, and now hardware's got even harder.
Well, at least I love the fact that you said you're keeping margins minimal. Obviously, you have to make some money, right? But the fact that you're going to be keeping those margins fair, you're not going to be gouging the customers. So again, it's another opportunity for the community that maybe needs a console to get one at a reasonable price where the hardware to price ratio is going to be fairly fair. So kudos to you and your team for that as well.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Let's make it a reality.
Yeah, well, exactly, right. If this is where it comes down to, people got to put their money where their mouth is and support people and companies that are being fair to the consumer. And again, this is one of the ways that people are going to be able to support it is by applying to your whitelist, letting you know that they're interested in the console, and then putting their money where their mouth is. So very excited to see how that does. And I know a bunch of our community has been asking for a reasonably priced console because PCs are just so out of reach for a lot of the Southeast Asian community. So now's the opportunity. Hopefully maybe we'll be able to do some partnerships here at YGG where maybe we raffle a few off, we buy a few, and then raffle it to the community, to some of our key players that are doing some big things. But you never know. We'll have to talk on the back end for that.
Yeah, that would be super, super cool. Really, really happy to be working with YGG. As I said, I've been following since the very beginning.
Yeah, hopefully you, like I said, I think actually when I was talking to Gabby had brought up the console and was very excited for it because we were huge fans of the Asus ROG Ally there, just because of how easy it was to use. And I think obviously when Gabby saw this at GDC, it piqued his interest there. That's why we've been in talks, and now that we're doing these quests and so on and so forth. So to have Gabby's kind of seal of approval is a big up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honored. I've been in a few spaces with him, Twitter spaces. He's a very thoughtful individual. He knows a lot of what he's talking about in the gaming space, and you guys have tried all the different things in this industry. So very, very good people to work
Yes,
with.
100%.
And yeah, on the console space, I guess I've been doing a lot of looking into the handheld space in general because you got to know your market, right? And I think this kind of handheld gaming space is getting more and more competitive and more interesting, both in the traditional space, but I guess also in Web3 as if and when we see Web3 gaming expand as a market. And so when we were first starting this, like it was like 2022, I think. There was a Steam Deck and there was like 2 or 3 kind of competitors or people in the space building Web2 gaming handhelds. But since then, we've seen the Xbox kind of launch their own console. The ROG Ally actually partnered with Xbox, which is quite funny. And they made an Xbox console, but it's $1,000 or so. So it's very out of range for most people. And then you've seen brands like Ioneo and TJD, and it's kind of not just them. Sorry, Nintendo as well. Nintendo made the Switch 2, and the Switch 1 was the best-selling console of the last generation. It was the console that I spent the most time playing, and so I kind of fell in love with the handheld form factor since the early days, like the Game Boy, the Nintendo DS, the PSP even. I didn't have a PSP, but I borrowed my friends. And so I kind of was looking into this space a lot, and I had a lot of experience with these consoles. And I think it's been growing as a market, like year on year. Predicted growth is it's up, increasing about 10% a year through 2028. And so I think it's a good time to be building something in the handheld space. I think the chips that power these devices, these AMD chips, they're going to get cheaper and more efficient over time. And so right now, like some of these devices are kind of big, they're a bit heavy, but the battery life is okay, but it's going to get better. But I think as time goes on, this market's going to get a lot bigger because these consoles are going to be very, very lightweight, powerful, small, and like able to kind of play everything on the go. And I think I'm waffling a bit, but like I got a point. I think this in general increases accessibility to gaming a lot, because traditionally you would like have to game at home on like your Xbox, your PlayStation, or your kind of gaming console, like, or you have to have the choice of having a handheld, but the handheld is not very powerful. So you're playing a like Nintendo DS or a Game Boy or a PSP or whatever. But now you could actually have the best of both worlds. You could have on the go the power that you have on your PC or a laptop, and of course you can get that from a mobile phone. But if you have dedicated hardware, it's made for the games that you're playing, and so it's way more comfortable. The form factor is good. It has everything that it's made for gamers, and I think a lot of data has shown that people do like real consoles. So that's the thinking behind handhelds, and I think it's a good time to get into the handheld space if you're outside of it, or you've never had a handheld before, or you really like gaming but you haven't taken the leap. And so I think this is a good kind of chance for people to get their hands wet and try something that is not just another gaming console, but is something that kind of caters to whatever taste you have, be that Web3 gaming, Web2, hanging out in Discord or live streaming. So yeah, that's my little pitch. But I'm trying to build the case for handheld gaming because I'm a really big fan.
Yeah, well, it was interesting. Like I grew up on handheld gaming too, right? All the way from Pokemon with the Game Boy Color all the way up to the DS, and then it seemed like when mobile phones kind of really took off, there was like a lull in the space where obviously Nintendo dominated, and now there's really become a resurgence in like people wanting a handheld after I think the Switch really kicked it back off again, right? Nintendo came back with this big bang with the Switch, but as you said, it's kind of gotten really pricey, right? Like, what does the new Switch 2 start at? Like $700 or something like that? Like, it's not cheap. It's not cheap at all.
Yeah, Canadian, I
Yeah.
think. It's like 450 US. But yeah, it's a little pricey. For being like a Nintendo handheld.
Hmm. And again, it's Nintendo. Love Nintendo, but you're not playing no Steam games on that, right? Like
That's true, and the games are gonna cost $80 each,
exactly.
or like Canadian dollars 100 or whatever, which is very cost ineffective for your average gamer. Um, so yeah, it has its merits, but I think it's not the most cost effective choice for the consumer. A lot of anti-consumer decisions are coming from them recently, and
Mhm.
despite being a big fan for a long time, I'm not supportive of a lot of the ways they're price gouging gamers these days.
Exactly. Well, it seems like everybody, not just Nintendo's price gouging. So far,
That's
only
true.
relative safe haven has been Steam, right?
Yeah, they've got a few new things coming out
Yeah.
next year, like the kind of Oculus headset and then the little gaming PC.
Yes.
So yeah, they're innovating. And yeah, on the topic of mobile, yeah, a lot of people are kind of shifting to that form factor. It was the biggest growing kind of gaming sector for a very long time. But mobile phones don't tend to play like AAA games very well.
No.
So if you wanted to play something like GTA, you want to play something like Witcher, or I don't know, Elden Ring even. These sorts of games you need dedicated hardware for. It may get better in the future with ARM chips, and I've been following the space quite closely. Um, so I don't know, like gaming on Android is becoming a big trend right now, and people are trying to basically translate PC games to Android-based OSs. That will be very interesting to follow over the coming years, because if it works, we can actually make these sorts of gaming devices a lot more efficient on like battery life standards and those sorts of things. So it's like, if it works, it's a good win for like PC gaming on like Android and mobile phones, but it's also a win for gaming consoles too. And so we want to be a player on this market, because whichever way the industry goes, we can kind of evolve and match towards it. But we can kind of build things that are even more useful to the current and actually makes it wider for them, because it's more accessible, and like it's just a better product. So yeah, we're big gamer nerds here, and we've been following the space, and we're really curious to see how handhelds where they go, and we want to play a part in the next generation.
Perfect. Well, I know it's extremely late there for you, so I don't want to take up any more time. But do you want to just end off? Any closing thoughts from you before we wrap up here?
Um, yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to be on stage. I really liked that we got some questions from the community early on. If anyone else has any further questions or anything they're interested in, you can pop into our Discord or kind of give us a follow on Twitter. Our social channels have been a bit quiet because we've been kind of stealthily getting ready for this initial sale period, but things are amping up over the coming weeks, so you're kind of getting in at the ground level. And yeah, do all the quests, be in for a chance of winning, and be there for when we actually launch the initial pre-sale for the devices, because this will be a very exciting thing to get your hands on, and we're quite excited to bring it to the market.
One final question. Do we have a timeline on when people will be able to get the console in their hands?
Yeah. So the pre-sale should take place within the next month, although we haven't announced the exact date. It should be in January sometime after this campaign ends. And then we're looking at Q1, Q2. So it takes about 4 months or so from once like ordering and manufacturing all the consoles to actually getting them into the market. And so, yeah, that should be early Q1, Q2 next year. This is as fast as you can kind of manufacture a new thing, because we're going to build them after we get the orders in.
Of course.
And we have the manufacturer agreements all in place. So everything's kind of all set up. So yeah, we've been doing this for 3 years, and now we're kind of like, this is the time to launch.
Very exciting. So we will be able to hopefully get some of these consoles into the hand of our community pretty early. I know I'm sure there's a few members from YGG that are already going to probably get one. I'll probably put my hat into the ring too, and then we can let other members test it out, and then they'll probably hop on the bandwagon, right?
Yeah, that'll be wonderful. Onwards and upwards 2026.
Exactly. You know, hopefully it's not a bear market for the whole year. Maybe just now. Excellent.
Fingers
Well,
crossed.
thank you so much for joining, and we will catch you in the future there.
Thank you for Corpses. Really, really an honor, and catch you all very soon. Bye bye.
Yes. Cheers.